But Brecht has much more detailed presentation about development in Blender, so I'll hand it over to him.
It's not actually very detailed. I mean, it's 3 slides, but. Okay. Okay. So we have a lot of interesting challenges for this project. Because, I mean, we're not going to do all of them, but this is sort of gives you an idea of the stuff that we will have problems with, and hopefully we can solve as many as possible of them. So maybe I'll go over it quickly. The first kind of thing is sculpting and painting. This has been like a development target for Durian long before we actually started. So hopefully we can really get the sculpting and the painting working on higher resolution models, because I think the tools are pretty good. You know, we have textures and you can do pretty flexible things with the brush system, but the main thing we have to fix there is supporting higher resolutions and just, you know, making sure that works smoothly. The other thing that we'll probably have problems with is things like library linking and proxies. Relinking all the files together, it works, but it could be a lot smoother. Further, in terms of animation features, I don't think we'll be doing really big changes on that. Mostly, I think focus will be on getting the new animation system in 2.5, really working well. There's a lot of cool features like the new NLA editor, but I mean, those work, but they're not entirely stable yet. And the other thing is just all kinds of changes to make to ensure that Nathan can make rigs that are nicer for the animator. Just, you know, fixing various things in the rigging system. I think the biggest challenge is rendering, at least the thing that I will be working on a lot, I expect, because we have to render very detailed scenes and we have to render them in 4K. So you know, we'll have to figure out a way to render scenes that are bigger than actually you can have in memory. We'll have to do all kinds of. We're not going to do probably not micro polygons exactly, but something which gives you the same kind of you know, functionality where you can have very detailed models, but not necessarily have to have a lot of memory for it. The other big thing in rendering I think we should fix is the shading system, because it's kind of outdated. It's not physically correct. It's not that we'll be doing like physically based rendering, because that would be too slow. But we should you know, just reorganize it so that at least the stuff that we're doing it physically correct, and if we're leaving something out, then it's being left out correctly, or it's being you know, it's not just patching together all kinds of things like subsurface scattering and hair, and you know, you can sort of put it together, but if you want it to look really correct, of course, it has to be follow the rules of physics a bit more. So the other big thing is physics. So physics hasn't really been tested in production. Well, Blender physics hasn't really been tested in production. There's a lot of different things that you can already do. I mean, you can do cloth simulation, you can hair simulation, you can do fire, you can even do rigid body, not directly integrated in Blender, but still you can do it. And the thing that I expect we will be mostly working on is just getting those things more robust, I guess, which is sort of a buzzword, but it's mostly just fixing things in those systems or extending them so that when you actually use them in production, that like cloth, for example, it's very difficult to do collision for that well. You can get very interesting results with the current cloth system, but if you actually use it on a character, you know, you're going to get problems, especially in a fight scene. So for that kind of stuff, we're really going to try to make it you know, possible to actually use it in to do what you want, instead of just being able to get something that's interesting but not necessarily exactly what you want. yeah, I mean, there's a few more things like 4K compositing. The sequencer could use some improvements, and of course, we'll be working on 2.5 a lot. Okay. Maybe a short word about who's going to do these developments. So one of the things that I think we didn't do really well for Peach was involving external developers. It's really difficult to. There's sort of a gap because we were working directly with the artists, and it's very motivating. You get to see their results, and then you can directly interact with them. And if you have to do it online, there's a lot more latency, and you have to. It's more difficult to communicate. So hopefully we can do better this time, and I think we can, because one of the nice things. I'm not sure. I think we've already announced it on the blog, so it's fine. But the first minute of the movie, the files for that will be online. So that means that the character files, like the environments, they will already be available, and so we will have something to share with the developers that they can immediately start testing. We can make a scene and we can show them, well, this isn't working correctly, and I think that way we might get maybe a better dynamic and get them involved more. And also, I think since Peach, there's been quite a few developers, new developers, and people are more experienced in various areas. So hopefully we can we can get more help externally this time. So I mean, there's already external developers working on quite a few features, like the rigging and animation system is being done almost entirely by an external developer. Particles, smoke, rigid body, render farm, sculpting, volumetrics. Those are all being worked on right now by external developers. We'll of course be doing bug fixes and changes on those as well, but it's very it's nice to have that. And further, of course, at the Blender Institute, we'll have a number of developers as well. We'll have Campbell working. I'll be working at the Institute. Matt will be working from Australia, maybe more on 2.5 things and Durian things, but still, that's going to be helpful. And hopefully, Tom can also make some time to do development. Okay, and I have one slide about stuff that's actually already right now in 2.5. Some of this, I mean, there's of course lots of interesting stuff in 2.5, which isn't necessarily specific to Durian, but the stuff that we had on our wish list specifically, there's a number of things which have already been added. Not necessarily because they were on our wish list, but if someone adds it, of course, it saves us time. So we already have volumetric rendering, we already have smoke simulation, we have different rotation representations for bones and objects. For people who are familiar with curve deformation, they might know about the twist issue, which was also fixed recently. We have a basic deep shadow map implementation now. It's sort of limited, but it's stable. It works. So well, the last week we've also been doing some improvements to shape key editing, which well, it wasn't in the presentation. It wasn't really doesn't seem very stable, but it works a lot better on my computer than.
It's the Mac.
Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it for development. Thanks.